Daniel Negreanu has pocket kings.
Raises.
Yeah, queen high.
Queen high.
He opens the pot to $1,200, a classic early position flex that targets the blinds and sets up a pot he can steer in position. Phil Hellmuth, smooth, calls, choosing pot control and range protection over a thin 3-bet. Eugene Kachelov comes along as well with ace-9, content to realize in position and take a multi-way flop against two ranges that can play face-up on ace-high textures. Kachelov checks the ace-high flop, protecting a top-pair hand with a middling kicker and letting the action declare itself. Negreanu checks behind. Pocket kings hate attacking into two players on an ace board, and the slowdown keeps weaker hands and bluffs alive while controlling the pot. Hellmuth takes the invitation and fires $1,200, a small stab meant to fold out nothing hands and price set against exactly these cautious checks. Kachelov calls, signaling he is not afraid of a little heat with top pair. Negreanu overcalls, a cagey line that keeps both ranges uncapped and disguises the true strength of kings by wearing the same hoodie as ace-X.
You too, Daniel?
Yeah.
My God.
You didn't expect two calls,
No,
right?
I
Just one.
was expecting one call.
No.
All three check the turn after the 8 rolls off. That card changes little. Kachelov sees no need to inflate with his kicker problem. Hellmuth's one-and-done bluff correctly shuts down into two sticky ranges, and Negreanu continues the sandbag, preserving the option to spring value or bluff catch on rivered scare cards. The river drops the king of clubs and the trap wakes up. Kachelov leads $4,200, thin value that hopes to get paid by worse aces and denies a free showdown to stubborn pairs. Negreanu answers with a raise to $14,200, selling a story consistent with a slow-played monster or a patient ace that improved, and crucially targeting the very hand Kachelov is value betting.
I think Phil's Hollywooding a bit here since he bet out on the flop.
Hellmuth gets out of the way, his earlier poke having run its course. Faced with a credible, disciplined raise from a player who never overbets his bluffs, Kachelov has to reassess whether ace-9 is really a cash-out hand or a tip jar.
And Eugene folds.
I had at least that.
Daniel Negreanu looks down to king-10 offsuit, a hand with decent equity in a 4-way pot. Against him is Elizabeth Houston, who opens to a queen-jack offsuit. Let's see who will the poker gods bless this time.
See that? Cheap flop.
Reynolds folds.
Also makes it easier to call this 3-bet from Tony G.
He raises to 2,000. Queen jack for the cannon. She calls out of position. So does Daniel.
And like that, Williams built himself his own little pot odds.
He calls too. 4-person party to the flop.
The flop comes 8 queen jack rainbow, which is perfect for Houston. She is looking at top 2 pair with no danger of a flush and only a potential straight or a pocket pair being in her way. Her odds look great, but I think she should have bet harder before Negreanu had a chance to see more of the community cards.
I fold.
Thank you, William.
With the bet sizing being insufficient, even Tony G with his mid pair of jacks that have 2% equity will make the call. The turn delivers the 4 of spades. Things couldn't have been better for Houston. Pocket 4s would have probably folded, same as the pocket 6s from earlier, but she is still afraid of the flush and straight draw. That's why she fires a bet for a bit over half the pot, which I think will be yet again not enough to get Negreanu off his hand.
Daniel's checking out her stack, knowing she probably has something strong enough to lose it all if he does make the nuts.
Negreanu casually calls her $15,000 bet as predicted. But at least Tony G and his adventuristic jacks are gone. Now let's see what the turn will bring for Negreanu. And it is the ace. What a cooler this will be at the end.
That's Daniel's gin card, and this could get ugly for the cannon. I expect her to bet here.
Now she checks.
Somehow she knew to slow down. Daniel's got the nuts. Let's see how much he thinks she'll pay off.
50.
If Elizabeth has watched the show at all, she would know Daniel doesn't bluff raise the river very often. No one does.
If Elizabeth makes this call, she'll have less than 30,000 remaining in her stack.
Call.
Ouch.
She sees it.
Damn it.
Tony G is looking down on pocket 3s. Pre-flop. This is Tony G doing Tony G things. Reynolds opens with ace-queen. The classic I probably have the best hand raise. Tony wakes up and decides his 3s are not just a set mining hand, they are a leverage hand.
We'll re-raise.
He bumps it to 5,000, not huge, but enough to isolate and make Reynolds play a big pot out of position.
Never been caught this much bluffing in probably, I don't know, 10 years. Like, in the last 2 weeks.
I have to call.
I understand. I want you to call.
It's a gentleman's call.
The flop comes a dream board for Reynolds, and a pretty miserable one for Tony. Top pair top kicker versus a tiny underpair with no club and no real backdoor plan. When Reynolds checks, he caps his range just enough for Tony to feel obligated to keep telling the story.
Qualifying on this board has to at least be a backdoor draw, so you have like 3-4 plus.
I do have a backdoor.
Backdoor wheel draw.
He calls.
I fold my hand right now.
The turn is the 3 of diamonds, and that single card flips the world upside down. Tony goes from hopelessly behind to stone crushing with bottom set.
Be wary.
The pot is already chunky. Reynolds checks a second time, and Tony now has every incentive to shovel money in while the board still belongs to the top pair player.
If you do call, I will check the river, don't worry. That's like the last bet that I just want to make sure I'm not in really bad shape.
Reynolds again only calls. With top pair, top kicker, and a redraw to improve, he is never folding.
Don't come out betting on me, just check a dark.
I can't do all that dark stuff.
The river brings the 9 of clubs, completing the front door club flush. From Tony's perspective, this is the one card he did not want to see.
That's like a river now that I'm going to struggle to be called on. But I'll still bet 30,000.
When Reynolds checks a third time, Tony has a choice: shut it down and hope to win at showdown, or bet thin, trusting that Reynolds has a one-pair hand too strong to fold, but not strong enough to raise.
Spread the pot, please. Man, Tony. You have to be value betting yourself.
Reynolds
here.
calls.
A set's good, any set's good.
That's good.
You having a good time, Tony? Things working out for you?
But the
okay?
river cost me a lot. I mean, I could have made a real pressure cooker there.
She's in with sixes.
Jennifer Tilly kicks things off with pocket sixes. This is a decent hand to entertain a small raise with and see if luck is on your side.
Back on Arden. She calls the 3-bet as well, so 3-way to the flop. Oh my word, set over set and Griffin's flop top pair?
This is going to be bad for Griffin, but it's going to be real bad for Arden.
With the board that the flop delivers, everyone has something to bet about. But instead of that, Tilly and Cho decide to check. With that in mind, our weak top pair is trying to take control of the board by shooting a small bet of $2,500. Tilly is loving it because other than a set of kings, nothing else on the board beats her, and she would love to see this pot growing, so naturally she calls. Miss Cho, on the other hand, has a completely different plan. She is not waiting for the pot to grow. She is growing it herself. She does that by firing a $9,400 bet. Now Benger has a choice. Entertain this top pair, or realize the truth and just give up.
Why is he so serious? He's like a goober 99% of the time.
The angry man quickly decides to fold and not pursue the king. On the other hand, Tilly is more than happy to oblige Miss Cho by re-raising to $30,000 with her set of sixes.
Oh boy.
Jen re-raises $30,000.
At this point, Miss Cho should know the deep trouble she finds herself in, but still decides to go ahead and call on her set of fives. The turn delivers the 9 of clubs, a card that is completely irrelevant to both of them. If I was in the position of Tilly, I would be betting pot here. What would you? Let me know in the comments below. I guess Tilly is not so happy about my jamming suggestion, so she decides to check here and wait for something magical on river. Same thing for Miss Cho. In her case, though, that is in her favor.
And Arden spikes a 1-outer. She's got quads. Meanwhile, Jen has rivered a full house.
Buckle up, because this hand just went from pretty sick to absolutely bonkers.
People say patience is a virtue, but in Tilly's case, her patience came to bite her from behind. The river delivers the only card that can save Miss Cho, and that is the 5 of clubs. Now the only question is, will Tilly get baited by her now full house hand? Or will she read her for the quads Miss Cho has? And as we all thought she should do, Miss Cho goes.
There it is.
This is not good.
No, it sure isn't.
If Jen calls, this will be the biggest pot of the game.
Arnon, you have quads because I can't beat quads.
Does she know?
I don't think you have kings full. And I don't think you have nines full. You might have fives full.
That's a call.
Vanessa Russo is looking down on pocket aces. Pre-flop, this looks like a routine spot that secretly sets Vanessa up for maximum pain. She opens to 1,000 with aces, the dream starting hand, and gets flatted by Lex on the button with king 4 of clubs. Suited king in position versus a single raise is completely standard for him. He is not trying to make a monster. He is trying to play pots and lean on people post-flop. What Vanessa sees is a competent pro calling wide on the button. What she does not see is that this exact hand shape is built to crack an overpair on a low-paired board.
Right here? This is the weird spot?
No, the hand, that hand's the weird spot.
The flop comes king 4-3. For ranges, this is a disaster for Vanessa and a celebration for Lex. She still has the overpair advantage in theory, but in practice his flatting range includes all the suited king X and random sets. He decides not to get fancy and leads 2,500, a small, confident attack that says, "I connected." With top and bottom pair, he is miles ahead of all her one-pair hands, yet still vulnerable to overpairs and bigger kings, so betting to define the hand and start building a pot is perfect. The turn brings the queen, which is one of those cards that helps the aggressor's story more than it helps anyone's actual hand. From Vanessa's perspective, it is a brick. From Lex's seat, it is time to defend from the possible king-queen. When he fires 7,700, he is saying, "I still have it, and this board keeps getting better for me." With top and bottom pair, he is now comfortably ahead of every overpair. The only real disasters are sets or slow-played king-queen. Vanessa again just calls. That second call is very telling. She is no longer trying to protect aces. She is explicitly putting Lex on a king or a bluff and deciding to ride the hand down as a bluff catcher. The river pairs the 3. And that seemingly harmless card quietly locks in the cooler. Lex's kings and 4s are now counterfeited. When he bets 18,400 for the third time, the line is completely coherent.
Oh, sick river. Unbelievable.
Pretty good with these rivers with aces.
Selps kicks things off with 8-7 suited. This is a hand that can be extremely powerful if the flop falls just right. So currently with McClung on the raise, she is just calling in order to see the pot as cheaply as possible. Herrings and Sanchez both limp call and pray for a good flop. Let's see what the dealer has in store for them.
10-9-6. What a flop. A straight flush draw for Vanessa Selps and a set of 6s for Chris McClung.
With this type of flop, it will be a full-on battle of stacks. Vanessa with the straight on the flop and a potential straight flush is in prime position to extract value from the guys that think they have something to play for. And McClung with his set of 6s does exactly that. He bets more than $1,000, inflating the pot for Selps.
Herring also flopped pretty huge, like his arms.
After this attempt at humor, Selps and Herring limp into the turn, and Sanchez folds, which is kind of disappointing because Selps could have extracted more value before the turn.
And there is the straight flush for Vanessa Selps.
Now that Selps has the straight flush, she is unbeatable and is begging that somebody raises. But unfortunately for her, I don't know if they read her or it was pure luck. Both McClung and Herring check, which Selps then follows. The river delivers the 10 of clubs, which is the perfect card to bait McClung into thinking that having a full house is somehow the strongest hand on the table, which he 100% falls for and bets $4,000. He doesn't want anyone who isn't committed to the hand to be playing it. Selps takes her sweet time in deciding what to do, which is understandable. When you know you have the best hand on the board, you have the tough decision to make on what size raise do you make to extract maximum value.
She moves all in. Herring folds, decision on McClung.
Herring understandably folds this wild all-in raise from Selps, but I am wondering whether McClung will take the bait with this full house that he has.
It is bottom full house. Maybe he gets away.
I call.
No, he calls.
Malik is looking down on pocket 4s. He limp calls the small blind to keep the pot cheap, hide his strength, and tempt the big blind to isolate wider than normal. Reichenstein does exactly that with queen 6 offsuit.
1.2? 1.4. Wow. 1.4. Okay.
Yuri may end up regretting telling Sebastian to have fun.
Malik's banter here is not small talk. It's deliberate downplay to make his range look weak and to encourage future barrels. On an ace-high two-heart flop, the raiser is supposed to bet at a high frequency, so Reichenstein's c-bet is automatic. Malik just calls. Raising a set here would shut down bluffs and fold out a ton of hands that are willing to keep paying. The flat keeps his range looking like weak aces, small pairs, and heart draws. It also preserves the initiative narrative on Reichenstein's side, which is exactly what you want when you're trapping. The turn brings the 10 of spades, a card that's better for the better story than for the callers. It adds overcard pressure to Malik's perceived ace-rag or pocket pair range and gives Reichenstein clean justification to keep firing with value and withdraws. Malik calls again. He isn't worried about protection. He wants the widest possible river betting range. Calling maintains the illusion that he's hanging on with a marginal one-pair hand or a busted draw and invites a big third barrel.
Malik improves to quads.
Oh, wow, just quads.
The river is the 4 of diamonds and it detonates the trap. Malik upgrades from a set to quads at the exact moment his opponent is most committed to the bluff. From Reichenstein's chair, this is a perfect shove card with value and a great scare card for bluffs. Many weak aces should fold to maximum pressure and missed hearts are everywhere. He chooses a large bet to blast those hands out. The problem is credibility and blockers. Queen 6 with no heart blocks, nothing that matters. It doesn't remove Malik's full houses, quads, or even the strong ace-x that will call. Meanwhile, Malik's line of call arrives at the river with almost no natural bluffs and a ton of slow-played value.
All in.
He shoves.
When he moves all in, he's perfectly polarized and his story is airtight. He let the big blind tell the tale on every street, then revealed the ending.
He folds.
Goofy limps the big blind with King 10 suited. Limping protects his range, invites isolates from hands he dominates, and keeps the pot manageable out of position with a hand that plays cleanly post-flop. Nick airball isolates to $1,200 from under the gun with Queen 9 offsuit. The raise pressures the limp, seizes initiative, and expects to realize equity against a single caller. Goofy calls. Suited Broadway is too strong to fold, too thin to 3-bet out of position, and calling keeps Nick's range wide. Goofy checks. On an ace-high, 2-diamond texture, Nick is supposed to continuation bet often, so checking lets that happen. Nick obliges for $700, a small, range-driven stab that folds air and taxes random backdoors while leaning on his perceived ace advantage. Goofy check raises to $1,700. King 10 of diamonds is a premium semi-bluff, gut shot to Broadway, the king high diamond draw, and even a royal flush. Raising clears out weak queens and 5s to 9s, charges worse draws, and starts a pot that can realize maximum value when diamonds or Broadway materialize. Nick calls with middle pair and position, keeping bluffs in and retaining control of the pot size. Bang! The 3rd diamond lands and Goofy upgrades from a draw to the nuts. With his story perfectly coherent after the flop raise, he leads $2,000. Leading now Prince, worse diamonds pay, stubborn Queen X pays, and some Ace X talk themselves into continuing because the Jack is a counterfeit scare rather than a clean killer in their minds. Goofy goes for a small, irresistible value bet of $3,500. After check raise, lead, and a blank river, this size targets exactly what Nick shows up with most often.
Makes the call. Royale. Royale with cheese. Royal.